I like that you guys are already chiming in. Oh, actually, since you're already chiming in, you guys, yesterday, you probably remember, we talked about our favorite extinct non-dinosaur animals, and I made a poll that I forgot to do, so I'm going to do this poll now to get us started if it's the right one. Here we go. As a little bit of a review from yesterday, we talked about a bunch of different animals, and now I want to know which extinct non-dinosaur would you most want to ride to school or work? Pick your vehicle, your commuting vehicle. What are you going to ride? What are you going to take to work? Remember, mammoths and mastodons relatively similar. Megatherium is a giant ground sloth. Smilodon is a saber-toothed cat. Procoptodon was that Australian Jim Henson fever dream version of a short-faced giant kangaroo. I feel like each one of these has their pluses and their negatives. We're going.
For me, I can't vote in this poll, so I'll just tell you with my voice.
Okay.
I say Smilodon.
Interesting. Why Smilodon?
Because it would be, I think, strong and efficient. I could bring like a lot of snacks and supplies.
Okay.
Also, and then if anybody gave me trouble, you know, if somebody is like telling me to smile, I would make my Smilodon smile at them with his giant teeth.
Okay. Some intimidation factor there. I like that. Yep.
Yeah.
You can use that if you get like road rage, cat rage. All right, I'm going to end this poll. Let's see. Share the results. It looks like Mammoth and Megalodon eked it out over Smilodon. Debatable. These are all, that's why there are different types of cars on the road. You guys, you can ride different types of animals to school or work. All right, let's get it started, you guys. Today is Monday, May 4th. Happy Star Wars Day. It's not going to be May. It is May. That's a stupid Justin Timberlake reference.
Love it.
It's like every day. Thank you, Christina. I wonder what JT's doing right now. I don't know. Just like every single day, we have a dino of the day and we have a bingo board. This is our bingo board of the day. There's some special squares for things we're going to talk about today, including, is movement on there? Grace made this. Yes, yeah. Movement. We're definitely going to talk about movement a lot. Hey, that's the top left corner square. You already got one. Check that off. Once you hit a bingo in any direction, please send a message to Christina. Grace is not here today. So Christina will field all questions, all queries, all comments, all bingo winnings. And if you do get this, she will tell you what you've won the right to do, which most of you already probably know. So that is the first way we start every single day. Our second thing, I actually took a vote in the VIP room. We had two options for Dino or not. For Dino of the Day. Emphatically, those of you who are here at like 11:50 voted on Dilophosaurus. We're going to talk a lot today about biomechanics and looking at the way animals are shaped and the way they move to figure out a little bit more about, well, their lives. And so I thought we'd do kind of the opposite with Dilophosaurus because, as we all know, it is a very cool looking dinosaur, but Jurassic Park took a lot of creative license with the frill and the spitting. There's literally no evidence for the frill or the spitting. This is how big a Dilophosaurus is in real life. To the right of Nedry, the one that we saw in Jurassic Park was much smaller. So that is your dino of the day, Dilophosaurus. We also have a special guest bird of the day. Oh, wait, let me do that one more time. This is very important. Carly, I almost totally ruined your introduction. I know you really want this to happen. We have a special guest bird of the day. Her name is Dr. Carly Ann York. There we go. This is her. This is Biology Carly. You can hit her up on the Twitter sphere under Biology Carly. Carly, I'm going to bring you to the front, to the fore, if I can find you. Lost you already. Christina, can you spotlight her? Why do I not always lose the people that I need to spotlight?
Does it help if you can hear my voice?
It doesn't.
Really?
You can hear my voice.
I see you. I'm spotlighting you.
There she is. There she is. Okay, cool.
Welcome.
Hi, Carly. Carly, all right, two questions. First of all, where are you zooming in from?
I am in Hickory, North Carolina. So the mountains of North Carolina.
Nice. Secondly, I have to ask, because I'm literally living with a tattoo artist, what is on is that left shoulder, right? I can't tell.
Yeah, it's a squirrel.
Oh, very cool.
And
the tattoo artist wants to see it. Go ahead, Carly.
Yeah. Ooh, that's nice.
Thank you. I got it because when I was a kid, my mom used to take me to feed the squirrels instead of feeding birds. And I think that's why I'm a biologist now. Also, I'm pretty sure she's here right now. Hi, Mom.
Oh, your mom? My mom's here too. I love it. We got the moms here. Also, Max, my brother, who was just on my shoulder, is a bingo square. So you got 2 already. I will forgive the fact that you decided to go with a mammal to feed rather than a bird, which is literally a dinosaur. But thank you for being here today. So, Carly, we're going to talk all about biomechanics, which I'm incredibly stoked to talk about. But you know how we have to get this ball rolling. Are you ready to play Dino or Not a Dino?
I'm ready.
Okay. You only have to get 6 out of 10, by the way. Very low bar, D- to pass. I'm going to read you the name of 10 animals, some of which are dinosaurs, some of which I have totally made up. Your job is simply to identify it as a dino or not a dino. You can look around the grid Zoom room view for help. We have some very smart friends who might give you thumbs up or thumbs down. You are more than welcome to ask for spelling if you think that will help. And there is a theme for the not dinosaurs. So if you can figure that out too, then you are super duper extra specially smart. Here we go.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Let's
great.
dig in. Animal number 1, Yamaceratops. Yamaceratops. Christina's got a thumbs down. Megan's got a thumbs down.
Okay.
Jenna,
I'm going with the no.
Go with no. I'm just trying to check in on Martin.
You don't have to trust us.
Oh yeah.
I don't have insider information.
Yeah. They don't have insider information. No one does.
Okay, that's fine. I trust my science community here because I don't know any better. Oh man, now I'm getting a lot of conflicting feedback though.
Right? It's much like the scientific endeavor and the process itself. You're gonna have competing factions arguing over data.
Oh.
There are 10 of these, so we can't take 2.
Okay, you know what? I see more yeses now. I'm going with yes.
You're going with yes. Wow. Last minute change to yes, and that is correct. Yamaceratops is a dinosaur.
Thanks,
Michael
friends.
was very adamant about that. All right. Great start. Number 2, Stapesaurus. Stapesaurus. S-T-A-P-E Saurus.
Going with a no.
You are correct. That is not a dinosaur. 2 for 2. Well done. Number 3, Scorpiovenator. I can't even say this. Scorpiovenator. Scorpiovenator. Or Scorpiovenator. Yeah, Scorpiovenator.
Scorpiovenator.
Yeah, right? Scorpiovenator. There we go. Scorpiovenator.
This is real. Major props to the people who named it.
Carly, you told me earlier you have 2 computers going just in case one craps out, so I'm going to trust that you're not Googling this on the other one.
Here's my hands.
Okay. Scorpiovenator. Need an answer.
Oh, you know what? It sounds really cool. I hope it does exist. Yeah.
Scorpiovenator is a dinosaur. You are 3 for 3. I try to make these harder. Well, we'll see. It's still early. You have plenty of time to fail miserably. 3 for 3, though. Great start. Number 4, Sacramimus. Sacramimus.
No.
No, that is not a dinosaur. You are now 4 for 4. Wow. Number 5, Puertosaurus. Puertosaurus.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, casual yes and casual yes. You were right. 5 for 5. Wow. Next, number 6, Patelops.
No.
I feel, okay, you don't have to say it, but do you have an inkling of the theme of the not dinos at this point?
I do.
Okay, all right. Don't say it yet. All right, we got 6 out of 6. Next, Nodocephalosaurus. Nodocephalosaurus.
Oh. That one's tricky.
The Jenna Hartley squad isn't really sure.
Okay, say it again.
Nodocephalosaurus. Nodocephalosaurus.
Yeah, we'll go with the yeah.
Yeah, the audience, you guys, I think maybe it wasn't that I'm making these easier or harder. It's that as we've gone on, the intrepid dinosaur scientists in the Dino 101 Zoom quarantine just know their stuff. You are 7 for 7 at this point. 3 more to go. Scapulornis.
No.
All right, you know the theme. Scapulornis is not a dinosaur. You're 8 for 8. We got 2 more. Gargoylosaurus. Gargoylosaurus.
Yes, and I really want to see a picture of it.
I can't show you one because that would mean it was real and I had a picture of it. Or maybe not. I don't know. Gargoylosaurus.
I'm saying, yeah.
Wow. All right. You are 9 for 9. That is correct. Gargoylosaurus is a dinosaur. It's a type of ankylosaur, very heavily armored, very crazy looking. You're 9 for 9. To go for 100%. Before I ask you though, do you know what the theme is for the not dinos? I said, let me just repeat them again. Staphysaurus, Saccharomyces, Patelops, Scapulornis.
Yeah, we got some bones.
We have some bones. The stapes, the sacrum, the patella, the scapula. All right. Last but not least, to go 10 for 10, to tie for the greatest score ever received, Protophalanginator. Protophalanginator. I like this name a lot. I just really like this name.
Based on the theme, I'm going to say no, unless that one.
You're right. Protophalanginator is not a dinosaur. That is actually what I'll be naming my firstborn child. You just went 10 for 10, Carly. Congratulations. We need Christina, I feel like we need a special trophy cabinet or something to display the people that have gotten 100%. They're in their own echelon.
Yeah. Like when celebrities go to a restaurant, their picture's on the wall forever.
I'll build a walk, like the Hollywood stars in the concrete walk situation. I'll build that somewhere. And then no one will come to visit it. All right. Let's get into it with you guys today. We are talking about biomechanics. Bio means life, mechanics. Well, you know what? I'm going to let Carly define what that is because she's the expert. And we've talked a lot about what we could talk about with respect to biomechanics. Animals that are alive today, using information about them to glean clues, which is a bingo square about animals that haven't been alive for millions of years. So Carly, first and foremost, what is your normal day job? Where would I find you? Well, I guess pre-quarantine, on a random Tuesday, 3 p.m. Where are you doing?
I'm actually in my normal space anyways right now. Okay. I'm a biology professor. Okay. I'm an animal physiologist, and I have studied all kinds of different animals. I started by studying humans, and then I got my master's studying stress hormones in horses. And then I took a really weird 180 turn, and I studied squid sensory physiology and the biomechanics of jet propulsion. And now that I'm in the mountains of North Carolina, I study the sensory physiology of frogs. So I'm all over the place. But I teach animal phys, I teach vertebrate zoology, and in those classes we talk about dinosaur biomechanics a little bit.
So you're no stranger to looking at different types of animals, the different types of ways that they move and doing some cross comparisons, which is exactly what we're going to do today. So we talked about this last night, and you brought up a bunch of different really cool examples of studies with respect to biomechanics that we could get into. But I think we're going to focus on 3 today because we don't have so much time. And I know our Zoom room is going to have lots of questions for you. I have questions about your academic and professional route. As well as how you went from cephalopods to reptile. Oh, I'm sorry. It was horses. It was humans, and then horses, and then cephalopods, and now reptiles.
Frogs, yeah, amphibians.
Okay. Are you just trying to check off everything on the tree of life?
It's starting to feel that way, yeah. But it's really fun.
All right, overachiever. Let's get started with something I love thinking about. Something you brought up immediately: footprints, trackways, animal speed. So I'll let you take it away. I have some photos here. I'm just curious to know what studies and ways that you think are the best for us to start to think about how dinosaurs may have moved.
So the fun thing about looking at dinosaur biomechanics is, I guess it's fun and not fun. We're never going to really know the answers to these questions, but we can take the information that we do have, and we can certainly extrapolate what we know. So we have fossils and we have footprints, and based on these fossils and these footprints, we know things. So we know maybe how big a dinosaur was, based of course on their leg length, but also on their footprint. there is a general rule of thumb that I came across that was like, if you take the
rule
length,
of foot, right? Rule of foot.
Rule of foot, yeah. Take that length of that print, multiply it times 4, and now you have about the length of the dinosaur's leg that you're trying to calculate a speed on.
So I would measure this footprint on the left, and then I multiply it by 4.
Yeah.
And let's say this was a 2 foot long footprint times 4 is 8 feet. And so 8 feet is what then?
What?
So like you said, if I measure the footprint, the distance between the footprints or the foot itself?
Well, I mean, if you had the foot itself.
Well, I'm sorry. The size of the footprint or the distance between the footprints, I guess is the question. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
I was thinking it was the size of the footprint, but now, well, let's see, times 4. Does the length between them make more sense?
To calculate the length of the legs?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
So then the goal is there to get the stride length.
Right, exactly.
And once you get like this is a really cool picture because you don't need to even do this calculation. You have 2 prints and you can measure out a stride length based on that. But say you just had a single print, and you didn't know what to do with that, you could then take these measurements and go from there. So once you have this stride length, then you can start to calculate out some velocities. If you go to the next slide there, you can of course probably extrapolate what kind of dinosaur you're looking at by looking at these prints too. And then from there, figure out just how fast these critters are actually going. So I did do some research to look at different speeds of some of the just major groups of animals here. And there's like some surprisingly fast dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I found is just take your average bipedal dinosaur, which is one that's walking on 2 legs. And that's going to be going somewhere around 9 miles per hour. There's a ton of variation here. Of course, this is just a average number.
And these are guesstimates too. We can't say 9 miles per hour. Yeah.
No, total guesstimates. And sauropods, maybe 5 miles per hour-ish. But then there's some standout cases here. So Apatosaurus is actually thought to be really athletic, kind of equivalent athleticism to an elephant. So an elephant is 6-7 tons, and our Apatosaurus is 35 tons-ish. Does that sound like a fine number?
Again, those are estimates too. We don't have the muscle, the skin, the fat, so we have to make guesses. And especially with sauropods, when you look up the weight of a sauropod, it can range by a good 25 tons from one side of the spectrum to the other. So yeah, we're guesstimating. Go on.
Yeah, but it based on the scientific literature that has done these calculations looking at stride lengths, it looks like they could have gone as fast as 20 miles per hour. Elephants can actually run 15 miles per hour, just to put that a little bit in perspective. So that's probably way faster than you might expect a really big animal to go.
That was my first thought, when we talked about this, but then you brought up the point, well, they're huge though, right? So their legs are much longer than an elephant. So each stride is going to be longer, which means they're going to simply move faster. But just the idea of a sauropod moving at 20 miles per hour is bonkers.
Yeah. So I actually went and I did some back calculations. So Apatosaurus, it was 20 miles per hour. T-Rex was 22 miles per hour. Gallimimus at 34 miles per hour. But the major difference between these is body size. Yeah. And when you're comparing animals that are of very different sizes, you can't just look at miles per hour. That doesn't really give you an idea of how fast the animal is moving. So I went and did some back calculations on these numbers, and I admit I was in an important meeting and I couldn't stop thinking about this, and I was doing the math. So
welcome to my world.
If there's any math whizzes out there that are that's not right. Please tell me. But so say Apatosaurus is like 75 feet long, which is just what the internet told me, going at like 20 miles per hour. That would land us back at moving at like 23 body lengths per minute. So imagine setting a timer for 1 minute.
That's such a weird way to think about like how many body lengths you. I've never even thought of that. But go ahead.
Yeah, that's how we do it in animal phys. If we're trying to compare different animals, we need to do it by body lengths because it's like how fast are you actually moving your body? It's different if you're a little guy or a really big guy. So yeah, you set a timer for 1 minute, and that Apatosaurus has like moved itself 23 times. So if you take that same number for the T-Rex, which the internet told me 40 feet long at 22 miles per hour, now we're moving at 48 body lengths per minute. So now we see our T-Rex outrunning our Apatosaurus in a way that we wouldn't have seen if we were just looking at miles per hour.
I have to interject for a second because I know everyone's going to jump down my throat if I don't. Recent studies have put T-Rex speeds much lower, somewhere arguably in the 10 to 15 mile per hour range. But again, we're not exactly sure. And I bring this up also because I did a YouTube video where I raced a T-Rex. I would have lost had it been going that fast.
So there was like a really cute little caveat in this paper with these speeds. And it said that, again, this was like peer-reviewed science literature, that it would be a problem for an animal shaped like the T-Rex, to go this fast, because if it tripped and fell, its little arms would not be able to catch it in any way. So it's very unlikely that it was actually going at these speeds.
I mean, even humans, when they run and fall, have a hard time using their arms to catch themselves. Like they kind of hit, but usually it's just face into the ground.
Yeah, like it's a funny side visual to think about a T-Rex just like totally face planting it by trying to run at these speeds.
So, Carly, I'm going to keep it moving here because I know we're already at 12:30 and we have more stuff we got to talk about. And since we're talking about long neck sauropods moving relatively quickly, that's not even, I think, the most interesting thing to think about with respect to movement of giant long neck dinos, which is why I'm glad you brought up the next thing we're going to talk about, and Christina's favorite. Christina, do you want to just let everyone know your favorite part of the sauropod again, just in case everyone was curious?
Neck meat.
Neck meat. We have, Carly, we have a weird fascination here at Dino 101 with neck meat. So speaking of neck meat, I love this image. I'm going to bring it up. Here we go.
It helps them move.
What?
I didn't know it was functional. I'm so excited to learn about this.
Well, there's neck meat around it's all function. Carly, tell us what this is about.
Well, so this is a biomechanical conundrum, actually, is how these animals dealt with having this really, really long neck. So like depending on the posture of these animals, and I know there's disagreements over how they might have actually moved with their neck, but it's an incredibly long neck anyway that you split it, and it's going to move up and it's going to move down, and how they're able to actually keep like a nice steady flow of blood to their brain, it's a question. Like if you bend over and pick something up off the ground really fast and snap back up, you might get a little lightheaded, and this would be like just all the time for our sauropods if they didn't have some neat adaptations to help deal with this.
I heard meat adaptations. I know you said neat, but I heard meat adaptations. Go on.
So there's been like back and forth in the literature about how the heck they could even deal with this in terms of their circulatory system. Like there's even some speculation that they had multiple little pseudo hearts to help pump blood. There's no evidence for this. There's nothing to it except physiologists saying we don't understand. There must have been another way for this to happen. It's thought they must have had really, really, really high blood pressure and an incredibly muscular heart in order to actually get the blood that far up the animal's body. And we have a living example of this to help us think about the biomechanical question, right? We have giraffes, and giraffes have their own weird adaptations to deal with this. So these guys have like the highest known blood pressure of a living land mammal. So their blood pressure is 280 over 180, where a healthy human is like 180 or 120 over 80. So it's really high. They also have a really high heart rate. Their heart beats at like 170 beats a minute. And they have really, really tight skin around their legs in order to prevent blood from pooling in their really long legs. So these are always the giraffes deal with the question of getting blood flow to their head. So it's likely that our sauropods has some pretty similar adaptations. There was a new bit of research that recently came out that looked at the cervical vertebrae of these animals. Yeah. So if you look at the cervical vertebrae, you see they have these extra little components called cervical ribs. And it turns out these cervical ribs, they act like springs. So the idea is that they're probably there for stability. Like if a sauropod's just walking around and it doesn't have much support in its neck, it's probably gonna have like a lot of wobbling back and forth, kind of just like a branch blowing in the wind. But these cervical ribs provide extra stability. And then attached to each of those little segments there is going to be musculature. And the musculature is going to push inward as these springs move when the animal walks. And that is thought to help continue to keep blood pumping all the way up into the animal's brain. So that was pretty recent research, and that would be a cool adaptation.
That's really cool. Especially with respect to Christina's favorite dinosaur, the Titanosaur, because I think when I'm doing tours at the American Museum of Natural History in New York City, there's 2 bingo squares in that sentence. That's the question I get most about the Titanosaurs, those big, long, like bony extensions coming back off of the neck vertebrae. People are like, what are those? What were they used for? So it's really cool to hear the current research as to their purpose.
Yeah, so.
Also, can you comment on the accuracy of my background?
Let's see.
Just, am I in the right spot? Am I getting this correct?
Yeah, we're pretty good.
Okay. All right.
Pretty good. Yeah.
All right. Cool. All right. So we've learned about footprints and how to calculate the distance between, or using the distance of the between the footprints as well as the size of the footprints to try to calculate speed. I also want to throw the caveat out there that whenever I hear or listen to or talk about estimating dinosaur speed, I always think about the fact that you leave footprints in soft, smushy material. So you probably aren't running at your absolute maximum speed, right? If I was going to run on like a running track, I could move faster than running through mud. So
yeah, that's a really important point. Yeah. We have these tracks, but we have no idea what they were doing. Like, we don't know if they were just crawling from point A to point B or if they were really hoofing it. I don't know, but we can make some estimations.
For sure.
And that's fun.
Oh, speaking of making really fun estimations, that's a good segue to our third topic, which is on everyone's mind, especially if you've seen Jurassic Park and someone getting eaten by a T-Rex. I'm going to just let you take it away. What is the deal with this screen? And what is this man? Is this like an alligator dentist? Is he removing a cavity? What's going on here?
So that man's name is Dr. Erickson, and he is a animal physiology who works down in Florida studying the bite force of animals. And what he has tried to do is take the information he's gained from our current animals and make some estimations about what T-Rex, what their bite force might have looked like. So I think that's maybe a saltwater croc. It's definitely a crocodilian, that he has this force transducer in his mouth where he's able to measure the amount of pressure that's actually going down when this animal closes.
Did you say horse transducer?
Force transducer.
Okay. Force transducer. Okay, cool. Mm-hmm. I love it when I hear completely new science terms I have not heard, especially fun ones like that.
No, I think it's me. I've been looking back at some of my Zoom transcripts, and the things that it has decided I have said are sometimes really distant from the things that I thought I said.
Yeah.
So it's me. I'm not articulating well. But he takes this information and then applies it to models about T-Rex bite force. Mm-hmm. So I was looking at sort of the history of studying this bite force, and it's kind of interesting because just like all science, it goes through iterations where people like know certain things, and then the technology improves and we can learn a little bit more, and sometimes the information is incredibly different than what we first thought it was going to be. So when Dr. Erickson first started looking at this, he basically like took a cow bone and a T-Rex tooth model, and he was trying to apply the tooth to the bone in a way that would make the same types of like teeth indentations that have been found in Triceratops fossils. So he was trying to recreate a scenario. And what they found from that was that the bite force was around like 1,500 pounds per square inch, which sounds like a lot, but it actually wasn't that impressive. For context, the highest bite force that has been documented in an animal is our saltwater crocodile, and it's 3,700 pounds per square inch. But in those first experiments, there was quite a bit of information that was missing, like the musculature of the skull and how the skull actually articulates. So they did further models, really taking like the muscles around a crocodile's skull and applying that to what it would look like in a T-Rex. And when they did that, the numbers jumped tremendously. So then they went up to around like 8,000 to 12,000. Which is like 3 to 6 cars crushing force, which is a lot more impressive than their original numbers. There was a paper that came out just this past fall that Ben looked at. If you go to the next slide.
Oh, thank you for this slide. I'm warning guys, this is and gruesome and one of the better interpretations I've seen. Again, we've talked about T-Rex murder bananas before. We're talking about the bite force. Here we go. Just rip that Triceratops head in half.
It's really horrifying. But this study looked at the jaw mobility of the T-Rex. And they compared models of the T-Rex to a parrot beak and like a gecko mouth. And what they found was that there's not a whole lot of mobility in the jaws of these animals. So all of the blue area on the skull is rigid bone. It's not going to be moving at all. And then as you get into the green and then the red in the middle there, those are the areas of the skull that are actually going to be moving. And it turns out that it's a trade-off, that you can either have a jaw that moves, like, our jaws are pretty movable. You can move it back and forth. Or you can have a jaw that's incredibly stable and can withstand a ton of force. And based on models, it had to have this kind of a rigid, stable jaw. Otherwise, when it applied that bite force, even if it was to another animal, that amount of force would actually break its own jaw. So it's traded off the ability to sort of wiggle it all around for this really, really high bite force. Yeah. That's cool.
Just quick shout out. So Martin let me know this artist that made this is Brian Eng. So I know he does a bunch of stuff on Twitter. So it's Brian, last name E-N-G-H. And I also bring this up because he recently posted some stuff about how you can make your own struthiomimus, like moving wearable mask thingies. And so there's like a whole army of cardboard struthiomimus out there. So if you're looking for like a fun dinosaur related arts and craft project, look up Brian Eng, E-N-G-H on Twitter.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah.
So comparatively to the T-Rex, I did also find some numbers about Allosaurus.
Yeah.
And this was kind of cool because it points to the ecology of the animal a little bit. So our Allosaurus has a much lower bite force, but the pressure, the shearing force that it can withstand on its teeth is actually like 12,000 pounds itself. So imagine your teeth being able to withstand that kind of ripping. And so it looks like our T-Rex, when they would bite into prey, they use this crushing ability in order to kill and consume, whereas our Allosaurus were a little bit more shredding apart their prey items.
That's one of the coolest, I think, things to look at with respect to dinosaurs that are carnivores and their skull shape and size. Like, you can start to try to figure out the ways in which they hunted, and literally the ways in which they bit and killed, whether it was just straight pressure, whether it was like grab and shake, whether it was like quick shearing bites. And we can tell that based on the shape and the size of the skulls. And so, yeah, T-Rex, we think, like you mentioned, had the strongest bite force of any animal that's ever lived on land. It's a little bit of competition from other big dinos, but yeah, up to like 12 to 13,000 pounds per square inch. I always think about that as like a grand piano is about 1,000 pounds. So that's about 13 grand pianos, like smoshed on a space this big, easily biting things pretty much in half, which brings us to our next poll for today. Ladies and gentlemen, if you had to go out, how are you going to go? Pick your mode of death. This is pretty tough. Remember, you're going to be cemented in history forever. Carly, how are you voting? I'm curious to know.
I'm going that tail whip. I'm really fascinated by that.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to have much time to get into the tail, but we talked before about how certain sauropods we think had long enough, strong enough tails to be whipped at a speed that was capable of breaking the sound barrier as a defense mechanism. So my first thought was like, wow, what if they like caught you right in the neck with that? They could just like decapitate you with their tail.
Have you seen I don't know if I want to call it a documentary of Dinotasia?
I have not.
I was trying to get in the mood for this yesterday, like setting the tone, and it was on Amazon Prime, and I don't even know how to describe this. It's like animated dinosaur vignettes over time, and the dinosaurs are beautiful. It's also like somehow really dark and gruesome. Like, I'm not a squeamish person, but there were moments that it was kind of gruesome. One was actually a tail whip moment. As I was reading the journal literature on the tail whips, there was this like moment on the documentary, and
Dinotasia? Yeah. It's called Dinotasia.
I think that's what it's called. I need to double check.
I think you've done more background research prior to an appearance on Dino 101 than anyone else, which is good because we're going to go to questions now. And so hopefully the squad is going to put you through the ringer. So Christina, we got questions, comments. I'm going to end this poll. Let's see. It looks like hit on the head by an asteroid is slightly being beaten by tail whip, decapitated. Not a lot of people want to get stepped on, which is fair. Here we go, sharing those results. Tail whip, decapitated, in for the win.
I agree.
Which actually, now that I think about it, of the four of these is the least plausible scenario to go, I think. Right? Oh, well. All right, Christina, what do we got?
First of all, Olivia Nunn got bingo.
Okay. Is my mom here? It's a great question.
FCOM is here.
Why don't we do a couple questions and I will find my mom.
I just needed to make that announcement because it happened like 15 minutes into the show.
Oh wow! All right. Well then let's get it out of the way. What did they request from my mom?
Olivia, tell me, would you like to ask Dustin's mom a question? Any question at all about himself?
Yeah, you can ask her anything about me, or I can give you a personal story or fun anecdote from anywhere, any animal, any hall of the American Museum of Natural History.
This is a lot of pressure, Olivia.
While I wait for that response from Olivia, ready for a question?
Sure.
I think this was inspired by the giraffe, the tight leg skin on the giraffe, which was fascinating. Dinos Are Life asked, can animals experience I might say this wrong, edema in the legs the way humans do. Edema?
Yeah, definitely.
How do I say that word?
Yeah, what is that, first of all?
So it's like the pooling of fluid.
Okay.
So like swelling is technically an example of it. When you have this increase of fluid of either like blood or lymphatic fluid, I guess would technically count too. Yeah, totally. And I bet it absolutely happened with our dinosaurs, either as kind of a problem of things not working particularly well, or as a response to an injury even. Yeah.
Makes sense. Cool.
A couple people sent me some comparisons with giraffes. For example, I just need to share that Catherine said a giraffe kick can just decapitate you. FYI, look out for yourselves out there. And then Sarah said, since we can compare Apatosaurus to giraffes, giraffes sleep with their necks curled all the way around their heads, resting on their bodies, and rarely for more than 5 minutes at a time. Do scientists think that Apatosaurus would have slept in a similar position? And are there any clues for how long they would have slept?
I have no idea.
I love that question. I mean, I guess my first thought was like one way we could maybe figure that out is if we found like an impression of an animal like that lied down to sleep, and then you can see the impression of the neck. But I don't know. And I wonder actually, so with respect to how long they slept, Carly, do you know, is there any correlation in modern animals that like ties body size to number of hours of sleep, or is it really just all over the map?
I don't know the answer to the question.
Because we have like cats are tiny and they sleep a ton. I think it has much more to do with like lifestyle than it does body size probably.
Yeah, like I bet if we looked into like metabolic rates and rest requirements, I bet you there's some stuff on the literature there.
Yeah.
Of course, like metabolic rates in dinosaurs is a whole
That's a whole
like
thing.
field.
Well, speaking of consuming and digesting stuff, now that I think about it, like these sauropods are enormous. They had to eat like a literal shit ton of food a day, like almost 1,000 pounds, a lot of the larger ones. So just in order, there's not enough hours in the day to get all that food if you're sleeping a bunch. So my guess would actually be that they probably didn't sleep a lot because they needed food to maintain their giant body size. It's hard to browse and find food when you are that big.
I think that's a really, really good point. Like now thinking about prey animals and herbivores and the amount of like low quality stuff they just have to constantly eat in order to survive off that diet. Yeah, that's a really good point.
Christina, do we have a question? Are we ready for my mom?
Yes, we are ready for your mom. Olivia has asked, Sharon, can we hear the most life-altering learning experience with dino knowledge thus far from Dustin? And then, I think this is the part for you, Sharon. What did his mom think he was going to end up doing with his life when he was younger?
So the first part is what changed my life most with respect to like what I found out about dinosaurs?
Yes.
I really think it goes back to, we've talked about like Backer's Deinonychus and seeing an animal that was absolutely not a slow, sluggish reptile, but like an incredibly athletic, built for speed, built to kill, amazing animal. And I think that like changed the game for me because I started to think about these things as incredible pieces designed by nature in ways that just blow the mind. And that kind of changed the game for me with respect to studying not only dinosaurs, but like movement and biomechanics of animals that are alive today, how my body moves and how it's shaped, why every animal on the planet looks and acts and moves the way it does. So I think for me, yeah, it was Backer's Deinonychus. So that's what changed the game. And now feathers. What else? What are we going to learn next? And so the question for my mother, Sharon, Afcam, the artist formerly known as Mom, what was the question for her?
What did you think Dustin was going to end up doing with his life when he was younger?
Good question. I don't know.
Am I unmuted?
No, you're ready to go. Hit
we
us.
can hear you.
It's really funny because pretty much this sort of thing, because he and his sister used to love to make these videos with the old video cassette cameras of them doing game shows. And then Dustin went on to make these crazy kind of science animal videos in the backyard, following the crocodile whisperer.
I like that.
So I thought, in the end, I thought he would be kind of the next science guy, some kind of comic theatrical educator in this field, and I still believe you will see him on cable television, if not network television or vice versa, in the next 5 years. He's going to be a star.
Oh, Mom. I like that you referred to me dressing up as the crocodile hunter and like stalking in the backyard as making animal science videos. I guess it's all under the same umbrella. Cool. All right. We got time for a couple more questions, Christina, and then we're going to go to our paleo art gallery. Thanks, Mom.
All right, we have a few more questions. Martin asked, how do we see what kind of gaits dinosaurs had aside from footprints?
That's a good question. So I'll let Carly take this outside of me simply thinking that we look at the size of the feet, we look at the distance between each footprint, and then we use the bones and the size of like the upper leg to the lower leg ratio. And then we look at animals alive today that maybe have similar body sizes, and then start to figure out or make guesses, educated guesses with respect to the speed and the way they move. But like Carly said, we have new biomechanical studies that come out all the time, like the T-Rex bite pressure thing. That's relatively new, and that's told us a ton as well. And so that's what we're doing right now. A lot of people, that's actually, I think, is going to be a really cool field. And not that it isn't already a field, but I think we're going to get a lot of new discoveries and a lot of new studies in the next 10, 15 years or so with respect to exactly that. Movement biomechanics.
Yeah, I agree. There's all kinds of computer simulations that people are doing now too, where you can basically like put the skeleton of a current animal up, track all of the different kind of kinematics, so like physics of movements, the points on that skeleton, and then take that same idea with our dinosaurs. And even if, for the ones we don't even have a full fossil for, you can start to sort of see how things would fit in terms of the actual physics of how a body works. But yeah, it's a real cool field.
Christina, I'm going to start. Why don't we start doing our paleo art gallery as we take the last two questions? So if you guys could hold up your Dilophosaurus renderings. Christina is going to ask Carly a couple more questions as we go through this gallery. Also, Carly, feel free to chime in on what you may believe to be or not to be scientifically accurate amongst our Dilophosaurs. But either way, just get ready to be blown away. The art is always very impressive. Hold up your works of art. Christina, hit us with the questions.
Okay. Haley asks, what kind of jet propulsion work do you do, Carly?
Ooh, I like that question.
What I was studying was how squid use jet propulsion to escape predators. So squid swim differently than fish do. They swim using jet propulsion. So they pull water into their bodies, and then they compress it, and then they spit it out of a little funnel. So they create a jet. And what I was doing was I was using a 3D visualization system to actually look and see what the water did when it left the squid's body. So this field is called hydrodynamics. And you can learn a lot about the effect of swimming based on what you see the water doing.
Do I know you, Carly, through Sarah McAnulty? Is that how was it the Cephalopod love that brought us together?
There it is.
Yeah, through Diana.
Oh, okay.
Haley just asked me if it was 3D PIV. Yeah, technically. DDP-TV.
You're saying a lot of letters that I've
I know, it's a lot of letters. Particle image velocimetry. Is that right? Did I just mess that up? I feel like my brain is fritzing a little bit. So the idea is like you put a bunch of luminescent particles in water, and then you shine a laser at the water, and you have a camera that then collects images at the exact same time that the laser is firing, and then you can track, you put that into a fancy software program, and it tracks how each of those little particles are moving.
These creative frills are so good. Yeah. I love this flowery one. I saw the Dilophosaurus earlier. That was great. Dilophosaurus.
I love that you guys are really taking the wordplay and the alliteration to heart for these. Love it. Love it.
I got a question from Catherine, who said, are there any similar dinosaurs with a stronger bite force in comparison to their size, such as the Tasmanian devil example?
Ooh, good question. So you're asking, are there any like small dinos with like unbelievably high bite force pressure for their body size? Is that basically the question?
Yeah, I think so.
Carly, I'm gonna ask you just, this may be just a wild speculation or guessing, but like based on the dinosaurs that you know that come to mind, which ones do you think would have like very strong bite force? Do you think of any like carnivores outside of T-Rex? Can you name a carnivore outside of T-Rex?
Don't do that.
I know. Okay. Here, why don't we talk about Dilophosaurus, right? The reason why I wanted to keep holding up your drawings. The reason why I wanted to do Dilophosaurus today is because we're talking about like, how can we think about animals that haven't been alive for a long time and the way they move based on ones that are alive today. And so again, we're trying to think about this as realistically as possible. And then if you go to Jurassic Park, Dilophosaurus, it's got a frill, it spits, which is all total creative license. There's no evidence for that. But actually, let me just bring up this, Carly. Based on the shape of this guy's long, kind of pointier snout versus the T-Rex's shorter and blunter with bigger teeth, how do you think they would have and you studied Allosaurus a little bit, just purely based on what you see right here. Can you tell us anything about how maybe you think they bit or moved or shook prey?
Yeah, I would imagine it would be more of a shearing kind of a force they'd apply than a crushing force, just because of that elongated nature versus the real stocky this way dimension of your T-Rex.
Yeah, it's more shallow. It's not as long. Yeah.
Well,
Agus, you have an entire gallery behind you. This is another edition. Look at this. These look like trading cards. Like I want dinosaur playing cards that you have made. I love these. Dinosaurus. We're coming to our last couple here. As we're going through these, you guys remember, we do this literally every single day. If you want to support the Dinosaur Show, you can hit us up on Venmo. I'm simply Dustin-Growick or dgrowick@gmail if you prefer. PayPal. Virginia, that looks great. I love that. We're coming towards the end of our time together, but obviously we got to highlight Natty's here. Natty, shout out to Natty. Also, many days ago, got a 10 out of 10. Another one of the all-time champions, Dino or Not a Dino. I think that's about most of ours. Did I miss anyone's? I'm sure I missed someone's drawing.
And
go ahead.
Carly, we have a couple questions that haven't been answered yet. Is there a good way for people to reach you or see your work on the internet?
Yeah, absolutely. You can DM me on Twitter, or you can, that'd be great. We'll do that.
Oh, there she is.
Yeah, hit her up on Twitter. So first of all, Carly, do you have any last parting thoughts before we bid everyone adieu for today's Dino 101?
I think when you're walking through a museum, keep the physics in mind, and it's really fun when you start to look at these fossils and start to really imagine how they would have actually moved and existed in the world just based on how their body shapes are.
It's another one of the reasons why I love studying dinosaurs. You can't just go and look at a T-Rex walk down the street. So we have to look at modern corollaries and make smart, educated guesses. And literally any one of us in this room could have a theory about movement that is way more accurate than a paleontologist has been studying for 40 years, because we just aren't sure. So do more digging, do more research, and maybe, Carly, they can replace you as the next biomechanicist on Dino 101. And that is a great place to leave it. You guys, thank you for joining us today. Tomorrow, either Paul Sereno, literally the Paul Sereno, will be here to talk to us about how you actually prepare a fossil and name it. If not tomorrow, it's going to be later this week. So either he's going to be here tomorrow, or we're going to do like a Pangea Day, where I'm either going to talk just about Antarctic dinosaurs or maybe my favorite dinosaur from each continent, even though each continent was together at the time. But for now, I don't care if you're studying biomechanics or you're simply digging your teeth deep into the throat of a Triceratops with tremendous bite pressure, enough to rip its head off. Never stop digging. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, Dr. Carly. I love you guys. I love dinosaurs. Have a great Monday. Peace out, everybody.
Bye.